Hi everyone, welcome to our Mastering AI series, Marketing AI, Mastering AI in Marketing. My name is Saraya and I will be your host for today. So a little bit about me and a little bit about us, Aiku. My name is Saraya. I'm a founder and CEO of uh, Sales and Marketing with combined experience in marketing, sales, and market expansion, as well as consulting. I work in different countries to serve B2B companies in IT, such as Software AG and F5 Network. I also work together with Aramco, and today I'm accompanied by Ziggy, who is also my business partner, and he will be introducing himself later on. So, what is Aiku? We are a company specializing in applied AI, so we bring automation to the industry to enable better and healthier community. So together we design, prototype, and develop customized AI software. Not only that, we also provide platforms for individuals to upskill themselves and also bringing AI to their companies and team. So about Mastering AI series, this is a 5 sessions to support professionals in adopting AI in a strategic manner. So we have designed it to be 1 hour per each of use cases in different industries. And today is the second one out of the 5. And if you have missed the first session, we have the recording on our YouTube channel, and I will send to you the link. And as you can see, we also have the upcoming sessions starting next week with AI for data analytics and machine learning. And then there will be also mastering series with AI as well as Gen AI in software development. So Ziki will be taking the stage from this point onwards, and he will be introducing himself as well as discussing together with us about AI in marketing. Ziki, the stage is yours.
Cool, thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Siggy, also co-founder of Aiku. I'm a data scientist by training, or in terms of what I have been working on the last, let's say, 10 years since out of uni, basically. And I'm also working at a research institute, a Fraunhofer Research Institute, where we're also looking into AI adoption in the wider scale of many, many different industries and also different functions. And that can, of course, include marketing as well as sales, service, software development, data analytics, and so on. So coming from that background, we thought, let's do something in this regard and show something in terms of what AI can do and give a couple of skills to you and hands-on knowledge. And since I said to you, what is this content built for, or for whom is it targeted? For sure, marketing people, since, well, AI in marketing, but not only that, we think it's also relevant to adjacent functionalities such as BD and sales, but also for those who are entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, business owners, who want to understand how they can bolster their overall marketing efforts. In this regard, a little bit of expectation setting. We think it's best if you treat this as a tutorial, because we have some examples and even exercises that you can pick up and do yourself in that regard. If you have any question or so, in the chat or in the YouTube comments, maybe even, we can get back to that. And yeah, should you watch the recording afterwards, stop at any time, check what's been there, review it. We will also share the slides, and then you can use it as learning material. This is how we thought to design it for you. And since marketing is you want to talk about it with, let's say, a case, because otherwise without a contextual relevance, it's just so hard to make it a concrete case. And that's why we made a fictional case here. Soraya and I founded a company, a new company, which is Sphere, or Connect Sphere Solutions, with their CRM product Sphere. And well, it's a dynamic software as a service provider for a CRM platform. This will be the case that we will use for, along 3 examples where we have small demonstrations of how AI can work in your marketing discipline. And Sphere will be our companion. With Sphere, we want to empower companies to build customer relationships and drive growth and do data-driven marketing and so on. So this will be our scenario. The problems that Sphere wants to solve are customers, or let's say our prospect customers. They are drowning in data that unfortunately is siloed or disparate, and it's fragmented in terms of how they can look into customer analytics, how they can automate processes, and there's too many missed opportunities. And we're gonna tackle that. And there are 2 killer features that Sphere has. It is, on the one hand, integrating a lot of data sources. So it's a data unifier, and with a very well-crafted API and a vast set of connectors, it allows to integrate easily with tools that you all know from like sales, ERP, customer support, and so on. And the second killer feature is the smart engine that it has under the hood, because once you have data, of course, you want to make it subject to AI functionality. And this is what it does. It provides analytics, segmentation, personalized recommendations, and so on. The target customers are B2B companies that are growth-oriented. Small, medium-sized is fine. We want to have marketing teams that are, like this smiley indicates, smart asses or data aware. So they want to use data and create actionable insights from that. They also want to move beyond the spray and pray type of marketing, so batch and blast. Not that, rather they want to have personalized multi-channel customer approaches. And finally, measurable return on invest. All right, so since we are now in the shoes of the marketing team of Sphere, we are the Sphere marketeers. We wonder, how can we use AI to bolster our marketing efforts? And for considerations that we have on top of mind are potentially emerging trends. How can we as Sphere know or be informed and leverage what our potential customers are talking about? How can we improve our product potentially and understanding of the market itself using AI? And how can we predict customer behavior potentially? What our customers or our leads are most likely to be addressed with to convert. And of course, we want to integrate AI in all of this in a seamless way. So yeah, that will be basically our context for today. And the skill set that we want to provide to you today with, let's say, the agenda setting is to actually find the right use case for how we can use AI in our marketing discipline. Is then, of course, as we know, that there can be so many use cases, decide for one, which should be our first project. Then starting with prototyping, how to do that actually, we will look into 3 different prototypes today actually. So there will be tiny demonstrations, and then we will also touch on how to evaluate the same. All right, let's start with finding the right use case. And what we want to use as reference here is a concept by Andrew Ng, who's an academic as well as a startup founder, and a little bit of an AI guru. And he coined the term of the AI flywheel. And this is very interesting for us, as we are those who want to apply AI to our larger marketing discipline, because it shows us the core mechanism of how an AI solution works in our favor and how it can actually accelerate over time. It has 3 major components, and one thing that it needs as a start is the application, let's say. So in that regard, our quote unquote AI product is something that kicks off this flywheel. And we as marketeers can imagine this to come from any marketing touch point that we create. It could be our website content, it could be related to our email campaigns, social media posts, webinars, or ads. And if we, for instance, have some AI workflow or tool that, let's say, helps us generating blog posts and make these blog posts more relevant, or suggests email subject lines that are more compelling, what would help? What would happen in the next step? We would have more products or more leads, more prospects engage with our marketing. So that's the next step here. The users of our little AI tool, we would have more of these because people click on our emails, they read our blog posts, they sign up for our demos, and this creates data, which is the next part or point in our flywheel, which means as more prospects engage, every click, every page view, every form submission for white paper download, every interaction really across our channels, it's captured. And as we get more data, this data is fuel to our AI, because surely our AI benefits from a more contextual data set for the task that we want to have it direct to. And now our AI can have a more accurate prediction on the marketing or on the leads that it qualifies. It can create better content recommendations. It can help us to optimize our ad spend. It can help us to have a deeper, more nuanced segmentation of in the prospect database, and then it just continues, because then as our AI machine or the outcome of our AI generated response gets better, it's more likely that more users engage. The more users engage, the more data is captured. The more data we capture, the more likely it is that our AI creates a better response. And that again has the effect of more user engagement. So this is why this is called flywheel, because it keeps rotating and spinning after a strong push that it requires at the beginning. That is fair. It can actually have an reinforcing, self-reinforcing effect at some point as it starts looping faster and faster. So this is something that we can use as, let's say, an approach to find use cases. Because, well, if we now want to think of AI in marketing, we could derive these ideas for how we want to use AI from these three components at least. We could focus on AI, what new technology is out there, how could we use it? We could look into our data and say, hey, we have so much data out there. Can't we make use of it in some way to keep this wheel spinning and feed something into AI? Or we could start with us as users, as marketeers, as our prospects, and um, think from, let's say, the problem, the business problem and optimization idea first. And let's start here. What could be a user focus with minding the user focus? What could be ideas solving our marketing problems at Sphere? First, we could wonder how we can um, in this big ocean of CRM systems actually stand out and have the best messaging for our diverse business targets that we all want to address. We could also wonder how this content creation treadmill can be handled, because our audience is pretty diverse at the minute, and how can we reach so many and constantly churn out high quality content? We could think of the needle in the haystack lead problem, where we want to have leads, but to have instantly a lot of very good leads can be very hard. Then also for us, there's also like the ROI problem. So if we spend money on ads, we also want to understand what works. So it would be great to have a system that shows us what worked and adjusting our spending accordingly. Also, personalization at scale can really be a puzzle. So how can we make, let's say, every website visitor or email recipient instantly feel that we understand their specific problems and show them that Sphere, our CRM tool, is the perfect fit? And lastly, with all of the trends going on, maybe currently also about AI, this is moving so fast. How can we constantly scan this and turn these insights into our campaigns? Maybe right away, providing a little marketing or market report and have a campaign turned out for us. Would be great. So these are some good considerations, and how to decide for the first project is something that we could wonder next. And this is something that you might want to do with your team, actually. Once you collected a couple of ideas, you want to evaluate. And usually what works very well is to aggregate your evaluation across at least two categories, which is value. So how much business value does one idea provide against how technically feasible it is. And if you arrive at some use cases that are very feasible and valuable, this should be your first choice. If you have something where value is high, but feasibility can be hard, you should ask yourself, how can we reduce the complexity of that? And should you have something that is not so valuable, but it appears to be pretty tough to do, is of course the question of how can we do that most efficiently? In that regard, you might wonder, what will be your first priority use case? Maybe you can think of something and yeah, we're also glad if you want to share it in the chat with others, and we can have a crack on it later on. If you actually wonder, hey, how can I define all of this? You can use LLMs for that. We do that ourselves, of course, in a structured way. And we also don't hide anything in this regard. We don't perceive this to be a rocket science, which is why on Hugging Face we created a little space where um, we have a demo app that you can use. Just upload a use case here, or just some notes on an idea that you have, and then it would be structured into like, what's the problem here? What's an idea? It could be solved? Who are the people involved? What could be what could be the outcome of this? How would it actually work? So, yeah, structuring a use case is quite important before you evaluate it. Here is a tool that you can use, but you could actually just do it yourself with an LLM prompt. Pretty easy. All right, so let's get back to our little overview. We have looked into these at least 6 ideas that we could now pick up to form our first, let's say, project. And there's one that I want to focus on because I think it could be fun. And it is something that you might also come across if you want to get going with something, might be your first campaign or so. You want to have a look into the market, and from that you derive a campaign plan. And this is what we're going to look into now with a tiny demo on how this could look like, the Crystal Ball for Market Trends Challenge. And here is how we could spin this up. Let's assume we have come across the Salesforce State of Marketing Report 2024. And it's a multi-page PDF file, quite a lot of insights, of course, but it's relevant to us as being a CRM company because, hey, Salesforce is the biggest incumbent in the industry. And we wonder, hey, can't we use LLMs to analyze this report findings and generate a marketing campaign for us, for Sphere, that directly addresses the trends that were identified in the report? All right, so how could that look like? We actually did it. So we have done this with using prompt engineering with pre-trained large language models only. So we are not training any models here ourselves. Why do we do this? Because we think that it should be, what we want to demonstrate should be a low barrier. So we don't want to ask any one of you to start training models or so. And we actually think that it's not even required at this stage. The only thing that you would need to do is a little bit of a setup, a configuration for how the large language model is supposed to behave. And we do that with the system prompt. So this is a prompt that happens before a user starts prompting into it and provide the report. And here we just say that, hey, you are a marketing strategist at Sphere, and then we provide a little bit of information what Sphere is all about, our mission, what's our problem statement, killer features of the app, the ideal customer. So in that regard, here we just provide a little bit of contextual information so that the large language model becomes more like a specialized Sphere marketing assistant. And we also define the task. So we say your goal is to analyze external market insights and devise relevant, actionable marketing campaign ideas for the Sphere CRM that highlight its unique strengths in addressing current market needs and trends. Wonderful. Now, this is the setup. And now let's assume we actually have the report. So in this regard, here we would have provided, uploaded. I think this is not really mentioned here, but imagine we would have had the opportunity to upload the report as a file, and then we provide this user prompt. And the prompt says, based on the findings in the report above, your knowledge of Sphere CRM and your knowledge of CRM, please generate a concept for a marketing campaign. Your campaign concept should include the theme and slogan, the target audience, 3 to 4 key campaign messages, and maybe also some core content pillars or assets, and a clear call to action. So we give some clear output expectations here as well. And yeah, I used Open AI GPT-4 model. You could actually use any other of the big providers here as well. This is not, I don't want to incentivize you to use OpenAI. You could have used Google or Anthropic or any of the open source providers. Totally fine. It works in a similar way. And this is just an exemplary output. And what we get out is exactly what we asked for. Hooray. So we get the overall concept, the slogan, unify, automate, elevate, transform your marketing with Sphere CRM. We have the campaign messages, we have the content pillars, and we have a call to action prepared for us as well. I will not go into the details of what we actually have been provided with here, because that would be too much. But pause the video after effect, or check out the slides that we will send out and make your own judgment. This actually brings us to another skill that we wanted to share here in the context of this session, and it is how to prototype an experiment. We have just demonstrated it actually, and we think it's one of the core skills that you currently need with generative AI in at large, and it is the skill of experimentation, trying it out. And here, the major focus is to start simple and do not get complex, not at this level for sure. So you should focus on pre-trained large language models and prompt engineering, and do not go into training or fine-tuning unless it's absolutely required. But it's in 99% of all cases not required. So prompting, maybe giving some examples with few shots, but then retrieval, what we have just seen, I provided the report with the user prompt, and that's it. We don't need to set up a very complicated system. And for sure, also, we do not need to fine-tune any models and so on, any training. This is computationally quite a big effort, and you need to provide a given data set for that and so on. So you can cut that short, at least in this stage when you do the experimentation. Then you also understood that prompt engineering is quite central in this regard. We have actually a whole series on that, the Prompt Lab. Find that on YouTube as well. 5 sessions where we went from basic to very advanced, and have gone into how to make a prompt really, really reliable. And here, this is actually a slide that I've copied from the basics to highlight that a prompt should at least be well structured. And these are some of the components that you find as very, very common recommendations from the model providers. You have seen it just now as well. The role was defined. We had some goal and instructions there. What we have not seen as were examples, but this is very effective as well. Also, the output format, if you want to provide a very clear expectation on how you expect the response to be, to to be structured, what quality it should feature, and so on. We have had that with our user prompt. This is very, very important as well. So this is just me touching on the surface of prompt engineering, of course. Have a look into our prompt lab. Now back to our AI flywheel. We have looked into if we focus on users, what could be like interesting there. Now let's move on to data as a focus that we could apply in order to derive use cases from that category. And us as marketeers of Sphere, we would want to, of course, leverage the gold mine that we have in store. So let's assume we have some website and engagement data. With all of these records of website clicks and downloads and whatnot, can't we find some hidden patterns that lie in the data and know a little bit more about our visitors even before we reach out to them? Of course, we also have the campaign performances. So how much of our content has been opened, how it converted, and so on. We might want to tackle the challenge of understanding our customers' DNA very thoroughly. So can AI create a lookalike profile to help us find new companies exactly like our, let's say, best customer? Also, once we look across different data sources, there is the power of combined data, isn't it? So if we merge different data sources, can we create something like super targeted approaches to go after our companies and understand clearly what they want from Sphere? Another topic could be whether we could potentially derive from the logs and activities in our CRM or maybe somewhere else where we store some data about our contacts. Can we derive from this data how we should address that person in a personalized way and push some content to that person to get them for like interested for a demo, let's say? Another thing could be a voice of the market, which sort of is the web scraping case in my view. So analyzing online chats and what makes people frustrated about CRMs at the minute and analyze that in order to derive what we could do next with Sphere. And what I want to focus on is the one that is already highlighted in a darker color, content engagement clues. Because I think that can be actually quite fun, and it's a low-hanging fruit after all. So content engagement clues, the next tiny demo. How could that look like? I have made up a fictional persona here and a fictional log of, in fact, Soraya Rosada, my a very good prospect customer, apparently. And as you can tell here, we have some information about the name, company, title, and so on. And we have some activity logs. We see that this profile downloaded the white paper, visits the web page, also liked the LinkedIn post of our colleague, and also visited a particular web page. And now we wonder, hey, can't we use that data to analyze the Soraya's customer behavior profile, pick the perfect piece of content, because we have so much content out there that we could exposed to her in an email and craft that email in a personalized way. So we want to send a personalized message to her. The system prompt here is a little bit more elaborate. But it's not too complicated. Why is it a little longer? Because we have more context information here again about the company, about the product. The role that we gave the system here is a marketing email copywriter. Your primary product is also defined here. And the goal is to write highly personalized and engaging emails to prospects. We also define what tasks the assistant should take. So writing the emails is detailed out here a little bit more, providing highly relevant pieces of content, and so on. And what we do as well is we provide a list of content assets that we have drawn from our content management system, let's say. This is, of course, an exemplary list. We are here now working with 5 pieces. There are blog posts, case studies, webinar recordings, and so on. This is what we use as a setup, and then we ask the assistant to provide us with an email draft. And as we do that, here in this section, we provide all of the data of Soraya's activity log. We have just seen that, so I don't need to repeat that. And then we give a clear instruction how to proceed with that. So select one most relevant content asset from the available content assets list, and then draft a personalized email. And as it does so and executes, it could look like this. So here is a response that I've generated, again, with a 4.0 model. The selected content asset in this case was the 5 ways AI-driven segmentation boosts campaign performance. There's a subject line that was created. There's the email body, and there's also a call to action that is highlighted here. So that worked out pretty well. Now back to our AI flywheel. We have looked into the users, we have looked into the data. Now let's look into AI. So if we were, let's say, a little more technology minded, or if we got carried away by the AI hype train, this might be something that gets us excited. So let's see how we can apply AI capabilities to our sphere's marketing. And there are 2 things that are like relatively low-hanging fruits in my perspective, and this is because it can be done with little technology effort, let's say. It's very feasible in terms of the AI that you need, because it's just analytical AI with statistics that don't go, or it can be as simple as just the mean value of something. And that can at first be spotting the unexpected. So can we monitor some across marketing funnels and campaigns and have some alerts on unusual events to flag opportunities or issues to us? Or maybe if we want to work with predictions and forecasting, can we have something like the likelihood of how many people will request our demo within the next couple of days? Then a little more in the, let's say, traditional machine learning, or also, let's say, the usual natural language processing category. We have, on the one hand, categorization and segmentation. So can we segment our customers with a little bit of an approach that goes more into nuanced behavioral clusters, such as a customer set that is struggling with data silos or needs predictive scoring, something like that. Or maybe we want to harness our customer's voice with all of the free text data that we have from the Sphere demo feedback. We have the support chat maybe. We have competitor reviews in order to uncover some deeper insights and maybe stimulate the why Sphere messaging. And of course, this is maybe the case that is just too easy content and copy creation. This is why we called it going beyond ChatGPT. Sure, you can use generative AI to write copies for you, but we think that that's almost too easy for us. There's something that we thought, oh, that could be interesting. Marketing expansion reports. So imagine we wanted to target a new vertical like nonprofit organizations for Sphere. How can Gen AI rapidly research the pain points of this new target customer category, show us what data challenges they have, tech stack, and synthesizing all of that data into an actionable market entry briefing? And yeah, we focused on that to give you a tiny demonstration. So this is the market expansion report demonstration. How could that look like? So we thought, let's assume we at Sphere, after we created our first campaign and we had our outreach after that, business is going well and we want to expand. And of course, as you ponder about market expansion, you always have different options. And question is, which one is the most lucrative or attractive? And what we want to do with AI now is that we want to gather market intelligence about one target segment, nonprofits. That was the start. We shall go with that. And then help us to strategically interpret and act upon that intelligence. So let's assume we have one report that goes that is about nonprofits, but then we have another report that is in a different category, and yet another one in another category. Can't we have AI comparing that? Let's look into it. At first, the prompt for the deep research query. This is a big one. Why is it so large, or why is it so long? Because I'm providing, again, a lot of context. We at first provide the objective. What is the overall setup for the research? I have a little bit of context about the company, and then there is the research plan. I will not detail it out at the minute because it is way too technical in that regard. But one takeaway that you can have from this is the clearer you provide instructions for the deep research functionalities in terms of how your research should be structured, what style of research you expect, what should be the outcome of it, the better and more reliable the results. So what we have here, for instance, is a market overview, CRM adoption and current usage, the pain points, the challenges, technology stack, what's the decision-making and buying process for CRMs with nonprofit organizations, emerging trends and opportunities. So you see that there is quite an elaborate structure in this research prompt. This prompt went into Perplexity. You can. I use Perplexity because, well, it's for free, and you have some, I think, 3 deep research queries per day. So therefore, you can go and try. This here is not complete. So here you see dot dot dot. The full length of the response that I have gotten would go way beyond what I can put on one slide. Now, what could you do next? Let's assume we have done this exercise, asking Perplexity in that regard 3 times, once for nonprofit organizations, maybe for startups in the software as a service category, maybe some boutique consulting firms. And we have now 3 reports that each evaluated for us how market expansion could look like for us in these different categories. And now we craft a new prompt where we provide all of these 3 reports as a context. We can upload the files, and then we state this prompt. So we give a little bit of a background information, what we have here, who we are as a company, and the larger goal here. We have 3 separate market research briefings, and you should evaluate them now. So your task is to have a comparative analysis, make a strategic recommendation, which one of the 3 verticals to follow, and what should be the next steps doing so. Go and try that yourself. This is a pretty cool way to synthesize knowledge that was prepared for you, and actually comes way closer to the current frontiers and what is possible with large language models, other than using ChatGPT for crafting your LinkedIn posts. So a really, really cool use case. All right. Now, as we have seen all of these responses of large language model created output, how can we actually evaluate this? This is something that we have looked into with the prompt lab as well, with a lot of more detail than I can cover at the minute here. But I still want to provide this example from the OpenAI evaluations framework to give you an understanding of what are the things that you could or should look into as you are being exposed to a response that was generated by a large language model. And what we can look into are some of the test criteria that we have on the right-hand side here. Let me zoom in a little bit to make that easier to read. So obviously, with hallucination still being an issue, if we don't provide external data, you always need to check whether this actually is factual. Another thing that you can do is, if you have a ground truth that you can provide as like in a comparative analysis, you can check whether the response that was created is similar to the ground truth. You can also check whether, let's say, the emotional tone is the way how you expected it. You can check whether particular text strings are featured in the response. You can potentially Like if you expect a very specific output structure or format, you can test that as well. So in our case, it could have been the structure of how the email uh, response was crafted. So does it have a subject line? Does it have a body, and so on? Usually, this would be something that you would put into a JSON or XML format, and you can check whether that has been um, there as well. And also, you can assess the text quality in terms of like how the response quality actually got out. This is just an example. There are other features that you can test, and all in all, we say like, whereas this is pretty generic, you should for sure follow a workflow that could look a little something like this. Iterative progression here. So you write your prompt, generate the response, have it evaluated, and then be equipped with some measure that can tell you, okay, this is good enough or it's not. And if not, then why? What are the metrics that lead you to that conclusion? Adjust, have a new one generated, and run the loop again. And once that is done, deploy. And that brings us to the end of the agenda today, actually. So we looked into how to find the right use case. We actually looked into 3 different dimensions across the AI flywheel that we can use to derive use cases for us. We also looked a little bit into how to decide for the first project across different categories. Start with prototyping is essential, and we also looked into how to make a simple start using prompt engineering. We looked into 3 tiny demos, and at last we also got a little bit of an idea how to evaluate a prototype. So in that regard, we have done a lot for Sphere, actually. We eventually looked into some emerging trends, how we can read them and derive campaigns from that. We also optimized our reach out to a fictional customer profile given the CRM data that we have, and made a hyper-personalized outreach. And we, after all, also integrated AI into market expansion considerations, and have even expanded the technology's capabilities in that regard as well. And yeah, let's hope that that makes our Sphere rocket fly high. All right, this is it for the session today. I think we can now use, on the one hand, the remaining time to Soraya would do that, reminds you of what's coming up next.
All right. Thank you so much, Ziggy. That was really interesting. I was really also following through because it was really nice. As a marketer myself, I learned so much today. And thank you for everyone to join. Just to give you a little reminder that we will also have the same session, which will be data and analytics with AI next week on the same time, on the same day. So with all that, I will close the session, and then we will after that go through the questions from the participant. Thank you so much.